So let's talk about crisis now. When you're in a crisis or when something happens, how should leaders respond, or how should people respond? There are times when, should you respond immediately? Should you wait and let's see how things play out? Or is it dependent on whatever the crisis is at the moment? But what should the appropriate response be like?
Yeah, look, I think whether you are a corporate leader or whether you are like, everyday folks, there are probably 5 or 6 good steps to a crisis, but the first one really is, in particular if you are in a corporate situation, is having a plan, having a strategy. I mean, you are able to identify at least a handful of crises that can happen, and I think that's important. I also think no matter what station you are in life, is that when you're in a crisis, you want to figure out what the facts are, right? Not the facts as we want them to be or we hope they would be, but what are the true facts? Yeah, and sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's very hard. You need to know the facts. You need to have a strategy. You need to execute on that strategy. And usually in a crisis, I start with the end game. So I work my way back. I start with where you want to end up. So where do you want to end up at the end of the day when the crisis is over? Where do you want to be? And that's usually where I start from. Yeah.
Now, we're in the digital space, social media, Twitter, Facebook, everybody is a journalist, everybody is their voice. And crisis now is much harder to handle because everything can spiral out of control. So how do you tackle crisis today in today's social media world?
Mm-hmm. Look, social media, how many people are on social media here?
Everybody.
Everybody. Okay. So everybody here in the audience and everybody that is watching this has really become their own reporter in a lot of ways. So social media is a total game changer in crisis, really in any business. You have to pay attention to it. You can't ignore it. I think that you have to really understand when is the appropriate time in a crisis to respond. And I think it really is when your core of your brand is being affected or it is being attacked in a very meaningful way that you respond, and it can't be too late. Because as we know, people are out there very, very quickly. You can't correct everything that's wrong, because that would be a part-time job, full-time job, double job. So yeah, I mean, you have to respond, but you also need to be measured about it, I think. Yeah.
What, in your opinion, is the biggest test of leadership? What the leaders face today, and should we be proactive or reactive to crisis? So should we try to do things that would not lead to a crisis, or is crisis inevitable, and so you just have to be prepared?
Look, I think the biggest test in leadership today is just that people have to lead. People have to lead. And by that I mean this, is that we live in a world now where there is a small amount of time for people to demonstrate leadership. Before, if you were in a job, whether you're a CEO or you are an everyday person, working at any level, there's a small period of time where people look at you to lead. So that if you don't have a plan and a strategy, and you are not being a decisive leader, a leader that is going to take action, then there'll be consequences. When you look at a lot of the crises that have happened today in the world, when a CEO doesn't take action or is not accountable, they're let go pretty quick. It's not as if you got 4 or 5 years to correct it. Usually the board takes action fairly quickly. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to diverse a bit into scandal.
Scandal. Nobody's heard of that.
How many people watch Scandal?
Anybody watch it here?
Almost everybody. So one question is,
yes,
was there truly as the film talks about, obviously. It's about you and your job as the crisis manager at the time. But then there's a subplot about the romantic relationship. So now that you are here, tell us, was there any romantic relationship?
With the President of the United States? Yes. No, I wanted to say, if it was, am I going to tell everybody now on national television? Look, let me tell you a funny story about that. So when we're talking about the storyline, I said, well, so we're talking about, like, you know, a relationship with the president. She said, yeah, I'm thinking an intimate relationship. And I'm thinking, oh my God. So one of the first things that any good communicator is trying to do is control the narrative, right? And trying to control the message. So I immediately thought, I need to get to the president before anybody tells him this. Like, I need him to hear this from me. So I call up his chief of staff, and I said, you know, look, Gene, I need to talk to the president. I need to tell him about the show. And so she said, oh, you mean Scandal? She said, oh, he's heard about it. He's so excited. He can't wait to watch it. I'm thinking, oh, that's not good. And I said, well, I just got to tell him about this one little thing. I said, so have him give me a call. So I'm on the phone talking to about 13 people doing crisis, and I see the Texas number come up, right? And I can't get it quick enough. I said, oh God, all right, so let me, when I get off the phone, I check the messages. And so I listened to the message, and the message said, love you, want you, come back to me, you left me, and by the way, this is the former leader of the free world, call me. I pick up the phone, I said, see, this is why I'm calling you. You need talking points. You need messages. He said, no, I don't. He said, I'm going to confirm the affair. I said, there was no affair. He said, look, he said, I have young people working in my office now. They say that I need to stay relevant. I'm like, you're the former president of the United States. You are relevant. He said, I'm going to confirm the affair. He said, I remember. I said, there's no memory on this. And I said, look now, so you can't joke about this. I said, if you don't follow these talking points, I'm going to call your real boss. Now, anybody that's married here knows exactly what I'm talking about. I said, I will call the First Lady. I will call her. He said, you would do that? I said, yes, I would do that. Stay on message. So in any event, he's been very wonderful and very supportive. Yeah.
Fantastic.